Guys, Bitcoin has actually opened bearish and we could be dropping to 60k. We are literally dropping and retesting a very massive and also a critical zone. We thought that Bitcoin can finally, I guess, give us some relief by going above 68k. This is exactly what happened yesterday, where we saw actually Bitcoin hit 66k, but then also reclaim a very important level to be reclaimed, which is 68k. And I told you guys, like, if 68k is kept as support, I wouldn't be just calling off the idea of going to 60, but it can definitely be delayed and we can be potentially going higher. However, Bitcoin with the daily open today got that drop below 68k, and I told you guys, like, if we drop below 67.7, we will be going back to finally and again retest 66k. I always tell you guys that more we actually retest a certain zone, the higher the likelihood, even in terms of probabilities and also in terms of actually doing something. Even though it can have a 10 to 20% probabilities, the more you do it statistically, the more likelier it is actually to get dropping and also to get broken. And the story is saying right now that if Bitcoin is truly, especially with the New York Open, if we just hold down 66k as resistance, I will never ever tell you guys again to be selling or shorting Bitcoin. Let me make it very clear. However, we've literally been saying ever since, I'd say, 7 days to 10 days, I guess, where I started highlighting the real crucial threat of going to 60. But even prior to that, I've been always saying that, even again, let me give you the full story. Even when Bitcoin was at, I'd say, or during February, I told you guys that we made a high and a low. I'm expecting both to be taken out, and I kept on saying, guys, like, we took the high, now we could be going to the low side. We also been building up some nice liquidity, so I guess so this is something that is totally reasonable. We said that we got liquidity, we took out the liquidity from the upside, so it's only a matter of time. I will never ever, and let me make it very clear, I will never ever be able to tell you guys whether to sell now, short now randomly, or tell you guys that it is now I'm predicting Bitcoin to drop to 60. However, from a probabilities likelihood kind of thing, we always gotta understand market structure and also the idea of hunting these shorts and then also hunting the long trades from the bottom. I've been literally saying and using, I guess, 60k in my titles for almost 7 days now, not to act as if I'm predicting it. Again, guys, I didn't predict, and I'm not predicting the drop to 60. I'm just calling for the fact that Bitcoin literally now, and I've been saying that even on Monday or even on Sunday, the idea of how, like, we have the overarching idea of potentially with time going to 60. That is only as helpful as, I guess, a higher time frame outlook. However, with the lower time frame outlook, we saw Bitcoin do what? We actually saw Bitcoin give us a fake out off of the top, but then most importantly, we lost the value area high, as you can clearly see, guys, and then we started making a lower time frame kind of structure that would also signal to me. So we got a double signal. We got the higher time frame signal that is like kind of unuseful or useless, I guess, on the higher time frame to short or do nothing, but also on the mid to lower time frame we started seeing and also kind of the market structure shift from being kind of good and maybe delaying the fact that Bitcoin can be going to 60. We even said it can take months or weeks. Trust me, it is not a helpful kind of, I guess, TA. However, once we start making a clear and obvious fake out of the top and then a drop, lower highs, lower lows, even, I guess, on the beginning of Monday, I told you guys that I'm looking for either shorting 68 or 70 to 71 because this could be the time and the zone. Let me make it very clear. This would have been the zone for me to expect Bitcoin to make a third lower high. We got the first one and then the lower high and maybe potentially putting somewhere here for us to drop to 60. Again, I don't want to act as if I told you guys that Bitcoin will drop to 60. I don't want to act as if I shorted this. Let me repeat, guys, and make it very clear and be transparent that I did not, let me repeat, I did not short Bitcoin, and I wasn't able to hack or I guess have a short from the top because obviously we shorted at 68 and then we saw the flip over. I was planning, to be honest, to short at 70, but Bitcoin surprised us by actually dropping, by just hitting 69 and then dropping. So I'm totally proud of myself, the fact that I didn't actually short the top randomly. I have a setup, I have a plan. However, due to the fact that I've got this overarching TA that I've been repeating for 10 days or even 2 months now, thinking that Bitcoin can drop to 60, that's what made me actually hold on to my shorts from 25, the all-time high from 106 and also from 96. And I also said that if somebody for some reason, for some way, has a short above 68 to even 76, they shouldn't be closing it too early. I'm still kind of leaning more towards, I guess, going to 60. So hopefully, even though I may not have been as helpful on the, I guess, last 5 days or 4 days of giving you guys an exact short to hold to actually get lower, hopefully the overarching kind of outlook and ideas and TA from going live every single day and making videos was pretty helpful for those that were able to hold on to their shorts, and for those that had, I guess, watched the videos or the TA and then went and looked by themselves for a new trade setup, a short setup to be holding now. Again, guys, let me now make it very clear that I don't want you guys to be as silly handers, beginners, to be selling at the bottom. Yes, obviously, now with making a higher or a lower high, the likelihood of dropping to 60 increases. However, I don't want you guys to don't ever allow yourself to be selling or shorting at the bottom. Yes, we can be losing 66 and then we can be more likelier going to 60. Okay, so that could be a chance that I'm expecting, or kind of like hopefully avoiding to lying here and also making money on the drop. However, if you weren't able, and I guess let me make it very clear that it's not my fault or anybody's fault, it's your fault if you weren't able to hold or find yourself any sort of a short from the top, because it's only a big mistake if you start selling by now. Even though everything can be sound and technical pointing at 60, it does not ever matter. Bitcoin can literally disrespect every TA and give us a pump to the upside. So even though I'm saying that technically, and again, notice how I'm always very precise with my words, technically Bitcoin can be dropping to 60, especially if we lose 66k. I will never ever tell you guys to be selling or shorting at the bottom. But again, let me also make it clear that it's a useful TA for those that would love to understand where's the drop that can be happening. And also, like, if I tell you that Bitcoin, I guess, losing 66, we can be going to 60 probabilistically. You just have to understand that if you have a short, keep it open. If you don't have a short, look for one. Again, I say look for one. Don't be randomly entering a short. And third of all, you can be avoiding, if you don't know what to do, avoid the bigger time frame longs, because it is likelier to lose if we truly drop to 60k. So again, I'm not predicting, I'm not saying we're dropping to 60, but again, it is a very high likelihood now that I have made a very clear, I guess, third high low, or lower high, I guess, guys. And now we can be dropping to 60. If you have a short, just keep it open, guys, to wait for a drop.